Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello there. My name is Brenden. My name is Bram. My name is Birmingham. My name is Birmingham. Hello, my name is Brenden, and I'm the creator and maintainer of a project called Conky. I'm here today to talk to you about this project, where it came from, give you a little historical context, and tell you what I'm doing with it today. And then I'll give you a little tutorial from the creator himself on how to get started with it, what you can do with it, and why it's kind of cool. Maybe. I'm kind of biased, but anyway. All right, so what is Conky? Conky is a system monitor, originally written for X, as in Xlib, which is the programming interface library for the X window system. If you know what that is, it's I guess you can call it old-fashioned these days window system used on Unix systems, and it's been around for, I don't know, a long time, since the 70s or something. 87? No. Originated in 1984. Okay, it's been around long enough. Not quite the 70s, but anyway. Conky is a project that is actually a fork of another project. It's based off this thing called Torsmo, which, as you can see, you can actually, surprisingly, the Torsmo website is still up. If you go to torsmo.sourceforge.net, it's still there. I don't think this has been updated since 2004, probably, but this is kind of what gave birth to Conky, you could say. I got interested in this project, and I noticed that there were a bunch of little bugs in it, so I started trying to fix them, and I realized that nobody was working on this anymore, and nobody was maintaining it, so I forked it, I made a new one, and I called it Conky. So Conky, where that name comes from, is a Canadian TV show called The Trailer Park Boys. So let me play you a short clip here from The Trailer Park Boys, and if you don't like bad language, then I'd suggest you tune out. So let's hear it. This is Ricky. He's one of the stars of the show.
Holy fuck, I found him, Julian!
That's Conky.
Fuckface.
Remember, Ricky, he's only a doll, okay?
Just fucking hate him, Julian.
Just ignore him. You gotta do this.
The man with the muscles.
Let's go.
You fuck with me, and it's fucking on, I'll tell you that. Bastard.
They don't really like Conky.
Why don't you just shoot off your gun some more, very recklessly like?
There's another clip.
Idiot.
Did you just call me an idiot, Conky? Huh?
Maybe I did. Ravine.
All right. Ravine is taking a little too far, all right? You little fucker.
He's the fucking man.
Don't say it, Bubbles.
Anyway, so that's Conky. Ricky doesn't like being called Ravine. That's Bubbles holding the puppet. Anyway, if you've seen the show, you may be familiar. So that's where it gets its name from. So for a little history, a little more history on the project, I started this project back in July of 2005. So that was like 13 and a half years ago. Today is, what's today? Today is January 2nd, 2019. So yeah, it's about 13 and a half years ago. It was originally, Torsmo itself, originally written in C, and you can see my clever commit messages here. Anyway, it was originally hosted on SourceForge back in the days when Subversion was a thing, if you remember that. Maybe not. Anyway, Torsmo was originally written in C, so I forked that project, and I have kind of been slowly rewriting some parts of it in C++. Over the years, I've had literally like hundreds of different people have contributed to it. I mean, maybe thousands, I don't know, I haven't really counted. If you look at GitHub, it kind of gives you some metrics about contributors, and strictly in terms of code contributions, according to GitHub, there are 103 different contributors, but you know there have been more than what is that? How do I get open plus closed? Well, I guess more than 400 issues filed on GitHub. Geez, like 322 pull requests. And I think I put everything on GitHub back in 2014 or so. Also, if you look at the chart, you can see this is the number of stars on GitHub. That's either meaningful or meaningless, depending on how you feel about it, but keeps going up and to the right. So I think that's good. I think that means I've done something right. These days, in terms of what I do with the project, I mostly do maintenance work. So that's looking at pull requests, merging pull requests, fixing bugs when I have the time and the energy. Recently, I've added a few things into it. I've been working a lot on just getting the code quality up. There's just like so much code in the project. I think it's somewhere around 40,000 lines of code now, and trying to keep the quality up and trying to keep the code quality up and prevent breaking backward compatibility is really challenging, especially given that Conky currently runs and works on a bunch of different platforms. You can run it on basically any of the Unixes or Unix-like things. You can run it on Linux. You can run it on Mac OS now using Xquartz, which is kind of janky, but it works. You can run it on most of the BSDs, maybe, depending on whether or not I've broken it recently. It's pretty hard to maintain the backward compatibility, but like I said, I try. I actually very recently added some unit tests, or at least some scaffolding for unit tests. There are not actually any, this is the current test in there. There's really nothing substantial at this point, but it's in there. So, I keep plugging away at it. Okay, so one more thing, and then I'm going to jump into basically a tutorial. I'm going to clone the project, fetch the code, compile it, and show you how to get started. So a good resource for Conky, if you want to try things, learn more about it, is the wiki. Wiki's pretty easy to get to. I think if you just search on Google for a Conky wiki, yeah, it should be the first result. There you go. There's an IRC channel, but I'll be honest, I haven't been on IRC in years now. Although I think I spent like most of my teenage and early adulthood on IRC. That was pretty much my only life for a long time. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff in here. You can just poke around. There's been a lot of articles, a few articles written and published about Conky in a few magazines and such. You can check them out. There are links to them. And that's that. So, all right. So let's get started with Conky. So how do you start? First thing you're going to need is a machine where you can compile some code. If you're running like Ubuntu or Debian or something, it's pretty easy. You can actually just do like an apt-get install build essential, apt-get install build essential, like that, and that'll pull in most of the basic stuff. You're also going to need a few other things like CMake. You're going to need a bunch of development libraries. Those are ones that end in -dev. The package names usually on Debian-based systems. For different distros, it's a little different, but you know, they all kind of have the same patterns. If you want to get an idea of how Conky is built, you can take a look at the Travis build file, which is in the source repo. Travis is just a build system, and the build system that I use for this project. And you can look in there and see, like, for example, all of the packages that are installed by default in order to compile Conky with, like, you know, a few different variations and different build tool chains and so on. All right. I'm going to assume you have a system set up, ready to go, and you can build stuff. So I'm just going to create a temporary directory here, cd into there. There's nothing in here. It's empty. And then I'm going to clone the project. So grab the URL there from GitHub and just do a git clone. That's going to clone into the Conky directory. And there we are. There's the source code. It's ready to go. So the instructions for doing this build are on the wiki. You can actually just go to the /wiki/installation, I, and the instructions are right here. So I'm literally going to do exactly the same as what is in these instructions for the most part. So with CMake, the typical pattern is to use an out of source build. That's where you build the code out in a separate directory from the source code, which is really convenient for a lot of reasons, but I'm not going to go into it. Anyway, so you're in the build directory, run CMake. I'm going to set a couple of flags here. There are a whole bunch of flags. I'm not sure if this is totally up to date, but you can see some of them in the wiki here. I'm going to switch on a couple of these, switch that on. I'm going to switch that on. Whoops, need a -D there. I'm going to switch that on. And then for the most part, I think the defaults are fine. So run CMake. That is going to generate a bunch of make files, and then I can compile it. So I'm going to just do a make-j10 like that, and boom, that's going to compile everything, and we're done. That's it. So now that Conky is compiled, I can actually run it in the build directory here. When you build it, the executable is going to be in this source directory. There it is, source Conky. So you can just say source Conky, run, say -h, and it'll print some help info. But I'm just going to run it like that, and boom, there it is. So Conky is running, and that's what it does. So it's showing me some uptime information, I don't know, other arbitrary stuff. This is the default config that is built in, which you can actually have Conky print out for you if you pass a -C like that. There's the config. So you can take that and you can write that to a file. You can say conky.lua, and then you can open that up. Get rid of this stupid thing. You can open that up and make changes to it if you want. Conky.lua. I'm running it. There it is. That's it. So how to make things a little more interesting. So I'm going to switch over. I have another build over here from earlier today. And something really powerful about Conky is that it is fairly closely coupled with Lua. And when I say closely coupled, I mean the actual Conky configuration syntax itself is Lua code. If you look at this, you might notice that, you know, this looks like Lua code, and that's because it is Lua code. So you can actually start putting arbitrary code in here. So what I've done actually is taken one of the Lua scripting examples from the wiki and modified it a bit and put that in here. And I'm going to use Cairo, which is a library for drawing vector graphics, which is kind of dated now, but it still works, and it's kind of native again to the X, like the X Windows tooling. But anyway, so I have Cairo in here. I have this draw.lua, which is a little script that I wrote, and I'm going to use it to just draw something on the screen. So here's my draw.lua. I'm also parsing some values using Conky. So you can actually use all of the built-in methods and functions in Conky that let you extract, any field value parameter or whatever, and then you can mutate that, or you can draw something, or you can, I don't know, call out to something else from the Lua code if you want. And so this is an example of it. In this case, I'm fetching. This is straight out of the wiki. I'm basically like fetching the number of times that Conky itself is updated. So every time it goes through an update, this value increments, and then I'm printing that, and then I'm literally just drawing a line on the screen using Cairo, and that's it. So, whoops. How to exit Vim. Okay, so if I run this, there's my conky.lua. I'm going to just run my conky here. I'm going to say -c, conky.lua. I'll start up, and there it is. So there is the line I'm rendering it, and you can see it's printing out these updates. Number of times it's updated every time it runs, and that's it. Not too spectacular, but we can get more elaborate here. I can change these parameters. Let's make this a really thick line, for example. Oh, look at that. So thick. Can change the colors. Let's see. Yeah, let's try that. I don't even know what that changed exactly. Oh, now it's like a nice pink. That's pretty cool. Can make it like really, whoops, can make that really transparent. Let's try that. Oh, this last one is the transparency, so let's make it even more pink. Maybe. Yeah, but now it's hardly visible. Anyway, you get the idea. So I have this Cairo examples thing open on my screen. There's a bunch of examples in this. These are written in C, whereas the Cairo Lua bindings that Conky bundles are, well, they're written in Lua. Well, the bindings themselves are written in C, but it's like mapped to Lua. So not all of these work exactly as you'd expect them to. You kind of have to look at the binding code sometimes to figure out what's going on. It's not perfect, but it works, is what it is. So some people have made like really elaborate examples with this stuff. I should have dug some up before I started working on this, but let's see. Yeah, there's some examples in here. These are some clocks and such. So I'm just going to copy this Lua code. I'm not even totally sure what it does. I've never used this before. Why am I unable to scroll down? There we go. Copy that. I'm going to go into draw2.lua. Paste that. Format it. Gonna need to load the package stuff into there. Okay, so this just sets the path that Lua looks in to load the libraries. Whoops, had to reset the camera there for a second. Okay, so at the top here of draw2.lua, we have this package.c path. That is the path for Lua to search for loading the dynamic libraries, specifically the Cairo bindings, which are packaged with Conky. So I set that. I've pasted this code in here, and let's make sure that conky.lua is pointing to the right Lua script. It is. It's just the relative path to that draw2.lua. Let's go ahead and run Conky, see what we get. Boom. Have a clock. Cool. So basically that's it. That is Conky, and thank you for watching. I hope you found that valuable. I'll probably still be working on Conky for another 10, 15 years. Who knows? We'll see. And by the way, thanks to all of the hundreds, maybe thousands of people who have contributed to the project. I just try to keep it going and make it suck less over time. That's kind of my primary ambition with that. I'd love to add more features to it, like maybe one day add native Wayland and macOS bindings, things like that. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to clean up and modernize. If I could quit my day job and work on this, I probably would. But you know, it's the way she goes, as Ricky's dad would say, from Trailer Park Boys. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.